Hey everyone, it's Kai, and today I'm sitting in my chair. I've got a different scenery. Instead, I'm on my sofa. Sofa time, and that means we're talking about something serious. Now, well, not serious. It's just things happen. Yesterday we reached 4,000 subscribers, so good stuff, boys. We wouldn't be here without the support of you guys. So thanks for all the support. Thanks for the likes and thanks for the subscribes. And just keep on doing that. Next stop, 5K. Let's do that. Let's hit that 5K mark. So like and subscribe. Yeah, thanks for the support, guys. Really, really from the bottom of my heart. It's been a journey, and this journey started at the beginning of V. Well, that same year that V came out, and we're kind of at the end of V. We got the product announcement next week, and that's for Vanguard 2.0. Which basically means, I think it should be overdressed, right? And that basically means the end of V. Like, clan selection will probably just be the last set being released for it, and we're donezo. That's it. So I think it's a good point to talk about V in general, and basically what they did right and what they did wrong, and what they could improve on. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start at V getting announced with that reboot and stuff. And so many people voiced their opinion about it, Blah, blah, blah. Reboots are bad. I hate premium. I hate G. I hate strides. This is going to be great. I'm not going to really talk too much about it, though. We got a lot of new players from V, which is good. Those players might have left now, though, which is normal. It's normal. It's just the ups and downs of card games. And people join with this new stuff coming in. People leave when, it gets a bit stale, and they're gonna join when CBD comes out. That's pretty much it. That's just pretty much normal. One thing though, again, I think splitting the player base was not good, but their ideas, they had these ideas, and whether they really, I don't think they really maximized that split though. When we look at things like power creep nowadays, probably worse than the G era. But overall, I feel like they didn't really consolidate that kind of what they needed to with V. So it puts them at a weird position when Overdress is coming out. But let's talk about the things at the beginning of V that I didn't mind, right? One thing I didn't like about V was when they separated all the clans into Force, Excel, and Protect. Because it's basically saying that, this clan beats this and this clan loses to this. But at the beginning of V, it wasn't that bad, right? You had OTT, Kagero, Royal Paladin, and Nova Grapplers, and basically, if everyone just beat Nova Grapplers, but even OTT versus Kagero or Royals, it wasn't an auto win, and then when OTT played against Novas, it wasn't just OTT getting smashed. You could play smartly and still win. Same thing when the next set came out. Tachikaze, way better Excel deck than Nova Grapplers, but it wasn't an auto lose for OTT. And then you had Spike Brothers and Mega Colony. Not very popular clans for sure, but they still they did their thing. It wasn't until that Murakumo came out when things went to kind of trash, I'd have to say. Because that Murakumo versus OTT matchup, that was basically an 80% win for Murakumo pretty much. Unless OTT double crit, right? It was such a terrible matchup that it really became this kind of rock, paper, scissors format. And basically, it was just Force beats Excel, Excel beats Protect, and then Protect beats Force. That's pretty much what it devolved down into. Except Murakumo was kind of slightly better, so it could beat Force clans as well. But overall, when it got to that absolute terrible kind of matchup-wise kind of thing, that's when I kind of started to not like it. And that is probably one of the biggest problems of V overall, right? Is the absolutes. The absolutes. One thing with V, right, is the way they design cards is they design cards this way, so this is the way you gotta play them. And it's not like you can go, okay, but I want to play a different way. I'm gonna think of some crazy strategies, and that's how I'm gonna do it. No, because the way that the cards themselves, the power in the cards are so high, there is no justification about why you'd want to do it differently, right? Would you not run Dragonic Waterfall in an early Kagero deck? You wouldn't. It's just such a good card. would you not run, you know, Deer in like your beginning OTT deck? You just wouldn't, unless something just better came along. We still run Deer kind of nowadays still. It's just such a strong card that basically tells your opponent to lose the game, right? So when you announce power like that, it's just really insane. Now, you could say that in G era we had this kind of absolute power as well. We had Zeroth Dragons, we had Heritage, you know, but let's be honest here. The strongest Zeroth Dragon was Dust. And then, sure, Dust was strong, but you had to be very, very careful in using Dust, because unless you could really combo hard with the Dust, you had a decent chance of not winning. You would probably rather play other strides than your Dust if you weren't sure on your absolute victory. Or it was just like, you had to win there. So it was still not I will always go into Dust and win. I could go into Heritage, but then Heritage was not an auto win as well, you know? Sure, gaining a turn is very, very strong, but against smart players, they could tank that extra turn. Certain decks could tank that extra turn, right? Narukami easily tanked that extra turn. Something like DI could even tank that extra turn just because they generated enough cards. So although you had these cards that were absolutes, they weren't. So they weren't absolutes, right? They were just very, very strong cards. But you had to choose. You had to think about if you wanted to do this or not, and if you wanted to let them do it or not. Because remember, we had G Guardians that enabled you to do these things, blah, blah, blah. So there was some kind of interaction there. But here you go, I ride grade 3, and then, you know, in 2 turns, I'm going to have a Deer, and I'm going to win. So that absolute is something that I very dislike. And when they started getting into that, when they started designing cards like Murakumo, it really emphasized those absolutes, right? And I guess one of the biggest things they really need to work on with V, which I think they kind of did, they did do pretty well in clan selection, is I feel like they've always had this weird problem with designing unique effects and power. So old school Vanguard, they kind of did it better, but in V they had this idea where a unique effect has to be really, really powerful. It has to be unique, and it had to also do like just absolutely obliterate your opponent at the same time. That's how we define unique in V. What is a good unique card though? I like Ganslot V. Ganslot V, nice unique card. It doesn't say I win written on it. It has good synergy with the clan, because the Royal Paladin, you know, basically the identity is about helping your friends and, you know, Blaster Blade, right? And Ganslot is Blaster Blade's pal, and he makes Blaster Blades good, right? It turns them into Vanguard. That's a very unique effect. It spawned a lot of rulings as well, but it's unique, it's fresh, and not overbearingly broken. But when we think about, let's think about a unique effect in the last 6 months. The last 6 months has been pretty terrible, I have to say. We could erase the last 6 months and put in clan selection cards, and I think we'd be in a pretty good place. But let's think of last 6 months. What are some unique cards in the last 6 months? Let's think of the Cross. Okay, you restand like twice, attack 3 times your Vanguard circle. It gets a bunch of power, blah blah blah. Well, it turns into the end. It gets the end. You know, well, nice nostalgia from old Cross, but that's not very unique. What about Luard, right? 3 force markers, not very unique. You know, Shiranui, gets 2 protect markers. It can kind of pseudo stride, still not very unique. You know, so they either they never gave cards uniqueness, or when they tried to do the unique stuff, they really whacked out the power level, right? They really whacked it out. Like Gurgood, recently got restricted with Percival. I mean, Percival's pretty cool. You know, gave another Excel circle. That's kind of fresh, but at the same time, you know, it really gaining these absolute gift cards, right? Gift cards are just these absolute cards, extra circle, you know, extra draw. They were just never balanced well. That's basically it. If they wanted to do a unique effect, it was either just not unique or just really wasn't balanced well. And that's basically the last 6 months in a nutshell. I guess like one of the more unique cards so far was what, like maybe Chronofang minus defensive power on your Guardian Circles. That's pretty cool. But that was before Silver Dust Blaze, right? But yeah, so where are they gonna go from here? I don't know. I really liked. I'm an old school guy, and sure, people are gonna say it's just all nostalgia, dude. It's all nostalgia. I think we've pandered to nostalgia a bit too much. There are times when you can pander to nostalgia correctly, and I think again the last 6 months they did was they maybe the last year even they pandered a bit too hard, and definitely I think we need to move to new places, new ideas, and that's hopefully where Vanguard should be. Good thing is about the V era, it made premium kind of more interesting. No, okay, generally speaking, when they did the unique effects correctly, I really like those cards. I really like clan selection, even though the power level is not strong. I like Gastille, right? People saying Gastille sucks. People say Gastille is good. I don't mind. I think Gastille is just an interesting card design, and I would love to see more things like that. So, overall, it's just... if they could design these unique effects better and make them like interesting, even like the action, like one thing I want to say, right, even like remember old school Spike Brothers in G, right? You have the idea of moving the cards to the bind zone and then put it onto the circle somewhere else, right? Now the idea behind that was just so that it could lose card effects, lose power, come in as a fresh card. But also, Spike Brothers, the clan, it's a football clan. You know, it goes to the back, goes to the bind zone. It's kind of like, well, actually, we don't play football, American football in Australia. We play rugby, but it's kind of, well, it's not similar. It's not similar. But you know, I've watched enough movies. Okay, I've watched enough movies. Come on, it's like going to the behind your front line and then popping out to the front somewhere else to make a break, right? To make a break in, I don't know, the side? The side? I don't know. But the flavor is there, right? Even if it's just the action, the action itself gives the clan some flavor. And if you were to make it in V, would they just print something like, restand it, lose its gain power or something, lose its gain effects, or give it a force marker, you know? It's something like that. The little things that they add to the clans also give it uniqueness, and that is something that it really lacked in V2. You know, it just really lacked that. Things just became. I think right now, like things have just become really insane. You know, turn 3 kills with Gabriel, high rolling pawn, etc., etc. It's the power level's gone way too high again, and that's just something that. You know, people were talking about how the power level in the end of G was too high. Right now, V is pretty much the same thing. They never really were able to consolidate that reset. You know, if you wanted to do a big move, like rebooting the game, you really got to capitalize on that reset properly. And I think that is something that Bushido just wasn't able to do for V, and hopefully they can capture that in the next 2.0, because they have to. That's if they did V well, then they wouldn't need 2.0, right? But 2.0 kind of has more on its shoulders now that V is kind of like, I think it's in kind of a shaky state. So overall, that is kind of what I like about just V in general, standard. In terms of premium, I think premium is kind of like a mess. They kind of neglect premium, and I can't really blame them, because premium is such a huge format. Whether they design cards for premium, I think they kind of do. We're not talking about like premium collection, right? Because it's definitely designed for premium. We're talking about standard cards, or whether they're designed for premium. I think they kind of do, but they only care about the cards that they can remember. So it'd have to be some really famous Stride, or famous G-Guardian, or famous card. So if you were thinking about some old grade 2 back in the day that will make this card super broken, I don't think they even looked at that. And yeah, that's just how it is. That's basically the premium format in general. I think if they want to invite more people into the premium format, they do have to do a bit more house cleaning there and more active house cleaning. But in terms of whether premium generates as much money as standard, they probably don't want to devote the resources, which is kind of sad. But at the same time, I wish they could take a more look into that format rather than just say, go to ban list every 6 months. So if NLK is broken now, we'll enjoy it for the next 4 months, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts on premium. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on V. I probably have way more thoughts on V, but I just can't think of it now because, when you make videos, it's never perfect. You always think of better stuff when you finish it. So we'll just probably make another video later on about it. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your most favorite part about V was and what your most hated part about V was. Alright? And yeah, like and subscribe. See ya. Bye.